Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 3. And I am going to guess episode number 236 or 7 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. And I have no idea what kind of day it's going to be at the Beaver Lodge because it actually is so dark now that there's no hint of what the sun or the sky is like. It's just dark blue.
It's overcast here.
Yep. So I can't tell whatsoever. And I am fresh off my flu and COVID shot. For some reason, sweet sleep I hoped would come because I would hope that it would knock me out. Did not happen.
Alas.
It's like you hoping for the side effects. Yeah. But no, feeling fine. The nurse or the pharmacist, I'm not sure, at the pharmacy who actually administered the shots, she should be hired to go around the country and teach people how to do it because I felt nothing at
Well,
all.
that's the way you do it.
Jab or fluid going in, felt nothing. I mean, bring your kids to her.
Mhm.
But if you live in Ontario, the rollout, there's a couple of glitches.
You think?
It's not yet available for the general public until the 30th. But there are certain systems that are allowing appointments to be booked. So there were a lot of people who went to get the COVID and the flu shot because you can get them at the same time, or COVID and pneumococcal or COVID and RSV, depending. But that we're leaving with only their flu shot and having to come back.
Well, I've been waiting weeks just to get my appointment. I've registered and set everything up with the pharmacy, and I'm just waiting for them to call me to tell me, okay, you can come in on such and such a date. Nothing. It's been a couple of weeks, so oh well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, seniors and, identified risk groups and stuff like that, still until about the 30th. Not a really great move there, Minister Jones, in making that clear that general public had to wait till the 30th. Making people come
What, Costco?
making people come twice is not a good way to make sure that you maximize the campaign.
Mm.
I'm your host, the Eager Beaver. Pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as you can hear, is my friend, Mr. Grizzly. Oops. Okay. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors. Some mood lighting. That's what you're doing. The Peppermaster, the Misfit Mystery from Corvin Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a Wednesday morning nibble for you. And Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
You know, all things considered, pretty darn good,
Oh,
actually.
wow. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. When I got home yesterday, I was exhausted. So I thought, I'm going to lie down for 45 minutes. And I was out like a light. And I went right into REM sleep, like deep REM sleep, within seconds, I'm sure, because I had vivid dreams, extremely vivid dreams. Woke up thinking it was 7 a.m. when it was like 5:30. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a deep sleep.
Wow.
I pulled a Bridget because she does that all the time. She'll fall asleep for 45 minutes on the couch and wake up. Okay, I'll make the coffee.
Yes.
I'm like, making coffee? What? Why? It's 5:30 p.m. What are you talking about?
I wake up. It's morning.
Well, it's just, you know.
It's funny. It's like what do you mean it's not morning? I've woken up. It's morning.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, I know. And other way around, when I was a teenager and a young man, it was like it's not the end of today until I fall asleep.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. And that's, my brain still works that way. And you know, somebody will say, okay, my previous path in life, the job I used to work, I
yes.
used to do early morning work, and early morning started at 12:30. I'm like, that's not morning, that's night. Morning to me is 6 a.m. And he's like, what are you talking about? Midnight is 11:59 p.m. is late night. 12 a.m. is early morning. I'm like,
Not when you're a
you know what?
DJ.
You are technically correct, but as a DJ, I'd finish at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then go get something to eat, and then get to bed at 6. So, yeah, at 12 midnight is not. I know it is technically early morning, but the way my brain
Party's
works,
just getting started.
yeah. So we'd, okay, well, I'll meet you there at 12 a.m. on Monday. I'm like, okay, be specific. Is that Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. and then 12 a.m. Monday? Yes. Okay, it's good, because if you don't specify that, I will show up Monday evening
Yep.
at 11:59 p.m. It'll be 12 a.m. Tuesday. So you have to tell me Sunday at midnight. Okay. Not Saturday, but Sunday. 11:59 Sunday p.m. Yeah, meet me there. So we got into the habit of saying 11:59 p.m. so I would know what day it was, because it's just, and I said, look, guys, it's just the way my brain works. I have a mental block on it. I cannot change it. I know it's 12 a.m. I recognize that, but I still see it as Monday evening.
Yep.
Because until I see the sunshine, it's not morning. They'd be like, you're a weird. Yes, I know that. I'm well aware. I'm well aware that I'm a weirdo. It's not a shock to me. I know this. And you're not insulting me by saying so. I am a weirdo.
You just have to own it. Guilty as charged. Definitely a weirdo.
But I mean, that's like the mildest weirdo thing I think I could be. The way I perceive time makes me a weirdo. Okay, sure. Yeah. Not insulted. Yeah, I am a weirdo. But if that's why you think I'm a weirdo, I'm doing pretty good.
Okay. There has been a lot of things going on. I actually have a metric shit ton of content, and we certainly don't have enough time, and I have no idea where to start. The we have the biggest legal settlement in Canadian history. We have the Prime Minister making a very interesting move on the whole ceasefire, no call for a ceasefire thing. Um, there's a strike of workers with the St. Lawrence Seaway. Um, there's a lot to cover. Wab Canoes, you know, had a moment where he was starting to address the community on healthcare workers specifically, so to start getting his plans kickstarted, and it's amazing. And so
It's a great segue.
yeah, and I have like tons of QP clips because yesterday QP, oh my, Melissa Landsman was Melissa Landsman again, and like Jugmeat was Jugmeat again, and then there was some like cut and thrust, and there's so much.
Well, here's the segue I was talking about. We're not going to watch the clip. I'm just going to show you this tweet because the clip is 10 minutes and we don't have time for that. But look at this tweet from Larry Dallas. Bring it home. Bring home polio, COVID, HPV, the flu, AIDS, etc. Now I know what PP means by bring it home. Pierre Poilievre speaks on bill to ban future vaccine mandates. Jesus Christ almighty.
He really...
Lord help me.
No, but here's the thing. If he's... There are people with him right now, right? If we say that this is the kicking the tires phase, right?
Mhm.
And he's doing that whole makeover, fakeover thing that they spent $3 million on. They could have spent 30 and it wouldn't make a difference because he just can't repress that. And he's been
Exactly.
on the scene for 20 years. Now, of course, there's 45% of Canadians who said that they didn't really know who he was. So I'm guessing he's trying to appeal to that. But I mean, if you've seen him for a while and you've been watching him, you know who he is. He hasn't changed one bit. He is the same person he
He's
was
the exact
20
same
years ago,
person.
right?
Yep.
Nothing's changed. There's been no evolution whatsoever. I mean, what do you... That's all you can expect.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally all you can expect. But all the people that were sort of looking, maybe he's there, those people could be frustrated with the economic situation, but they're not idiots who would say,
let's hope
you
they're
know
not.
what, I would like better housing and I would like better food prices, but if that means, but I'm not willing to sacrifice basic fundamental public health that we all know works in order to get it. This is my stop. Ding, ding. Right?
Well, every time I run across an anti-vaxxer who says vaccines don't work, I'm like, okay, go to a cemetery from, the early 1900s, the turn of the 20th century. Go to a cemetery from, the early 1900s and look at all the headstones of children. There are more children in the cemetery from 1900 than there is adults. Go to a cemetery from today and look how many headstones there are of children. There's going to be a few because of car accidents, cancer, things like that. But vaccines save lives. Do you know why families had 10, 15, 17 children back in the day? Because most of them wouldn't make it to adulthood.
Yeah, yeah.
They just simply didn't.
Yeah.
They died of childhood diseases that we've managed to eradicate thanks to vaccination.
Mm-hmm. So, and as Get Saucy says here, was forced to listen to the radio yesterday, and the news referred to a study where 56% of Canadians polled are tired of vaccines. People need to grow up and get over themselves. Yes, but I mean, who likes vaccines? I mean, I like vaccines in that, they prevent me from getting sick. Yeah, vaccines are my friend, but I mean, who likes going to get a shot? Nobody likes it. Nobody likes to have to. So of course you're tired, but you do it anyway.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure
nobody.
over 56% of Canadians are tired of paying taxes or paying for insurance, but they're going to do it anyway, right?
Well,
So,
yeah.
but I mean,
But when you say
it's the
nobody likes to
question,
get
right?
vaccines, hang on a sec. People
Well,
like
you
to
know
get
what I mean.
tattoos.
Yes, and piercings.
I was being, yeah, I was going
Like,
for humor.
yes, like this. Oh, hey, some people really like needles.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, acupuncture. So
I do an acupuncture almost every day.
yeah. So I mean, uh, I find little utility to a poll asking how many people are tired of vaccines because no matter how tired one may be of vaccines, there's still a portion of people that aren't going to get them anyway because they like living. So, ban requirements for car
Yeah.
insurance that interferes with our freedom. So, right.
Speaking of freedom, I heard that the Freedom Camp in Castleman is situated on a toxic waste dump. I'm not joking.
That's somewhat poetic.
Yeah, where they dump raw sewage, which would explain why everybody in that camp now suddenly has severe stomach flu.
Oh, Lord, sweet baby Jesus.
I can't write this stuff. I'm not laughing at people's pain. I'm laughing at the absurdity of it.
This is why if we set rules to protests so that you can do them in places that are not toxic waste dumps and get flu, but you just need to go home after the protest and not
Mm,
destroy shit or leave shit or literally shit. It's just basic, you know? You can come to Ottawa. Just don't wipe yourself on the curtains and relieve yourself on the carpet.
or in the
And
street
then when
like
it's
they did
time
the
to go
last time.
home, go home. When the
I've
party's
been to
over,
a
go
few.
home.
Well, I've been to a few protests in my day, living in downtown Ottawa.
Jeez,
Um,
people.
but the protests usually last maybe 2 hours, 3 at the most, because we get a permit for it. We walk from point A to point B to the hill, and we stand there, a couple of speakers, and then we all leave and go home. Because, the vast majority of Canadians have lives that involve employment of some type, which means that you cannot camp out for weeks at a time. Like, who's paying for all of this? You know how many of these people have quit their jobs to go and live in a field of literal excrement in Castleman, Ontario, so that they can drive into Ottawa and protest on Wellington Street? Just can't make it up.
Yep, I know.
I can't make it up.
I know. It's just anyway. Big news. The largest legal settlement in Canadian history was approved yesterday by the federal court. We talked about it not too long ago, and it's the one for Indigenous children who have gone through the foster care system, who have, well, basically got the short end of the stick since decades when it comes to actual funding of the system. They've just been terribly underfunded. It is a $23 billion settlement. And Minister Patty Haidu, who's the Minister of Indigenous Service, says we often look to the federal government as the controlling partner in these types of arrangements, but actually the compensation is designed to be controlled and delivered by Indigenous people. Our job is to make sure the money is there, which it is, and to work with the parties to ensure that they have the tools they need in the delivery of the compensation. But I think the time has come for all of us to question how we conceptualize the federal government as having control over Indigenous peoples and really turn that on its head. This is about Indigenous people having control over a process that's long overdue. Um, and then she's given an interview, and I don't know if we're ready, but I'd like to play this clip for everyone. With
Yeah, I have it. I'll bring it up in a second. It was just okay. What are now in FC versus the 60 scoop? I don't know what FC is, Hugh. More
Federal court, I'm
FNMI
guessing.
First Nations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. On the 70 scoop.
All right. Let's have a look at this video clip, shall we? Let me just migrate us to there, and here we go.
Been calling for a very long time.
Okay, but to that, I'm wondering what your reaction is to Cindy Blackstock, of course, a well-known advocate for First Nations children, and she says, with this compensation coming out, even before it came out, that there's still work to be done, that First Nations children are still, as she says, being discriminated against and being poorly served by the system. What do you say to that?
Well, I would first of all thank Dr. Blackstock, the litigants Mashum and Trout, who I had a chance to meet, by the way, at a ceremony just yesterday here in Ottawa, and of course the AFN and the many litigants they represented, for their ongoing commitment and advocacy. This isn't easy to advocate when in fact you're representing a class of people that have experienced similar discrimination as you have. But what I would say to Dr. Blackstock and to others is that the commitment of Canada is strong. The agreement in principle actually committed Canada not just to compensate individuals harmed, but to work on reforming the system so that the child welfare system would end that discrimination, would be better suited to support families and children, and would ultimately result in people reaching their full potential.
Okay, and when you talk about reforming, there is that additional $20 billion beyond the compensation that is meant for reform. How do you see that money being used, and how quickly?
Well, that additional $20 billion, as you rightly point out, is part of the agreement in principle that was struck almost 2 years ago. And that $20 billion, that additional $20 billion, it is the foundation of the work that we're doing with the parties to transform a system that has long been rooted in systemic discrimination. So it's looking at everything from how money is apportioned to how we can increase self-determination and for Indigenous peoples to really manage their own affairs in terms of child and family and children's services. That work, by the way, we didn't wait for this reform to happen. The Government of Canada, as you know, a number of years ago passed C-92, which is about reforming child and family services and restoring control to First Nations. There's about 10 of these coordination agreements across the country now with long-term funding. But this is really a reflection of how all of the department's work needs to be adjusted and transformed so it's more rapid, it's more equitable, and it certainly has a better lens of self-determination.
Will any of that go towards the Jordan Principles cases? Because now that this settlement has approved, there will in all likelihood be greater attention paid to those cases that are taking longer to settle than the 12 to 48 hours that the government is meant to have to process the claims?
Certainly, look, the majority of Jordan's principal settlements are being processed very quickly, but you're right, there's still a backlog. And I hear about that from families in my own riding in Thunder Bay Superior North and from practitioners who are trying to access services. That is part of reforming the system, to make sure that the system is working in all of the aspects that it is expected to provide care for children and families in a way that's rapid, in a way that's trauma-informed, in a way that's Indigenous-led. And that's that hard work ahead of us. Dr. Blackstock is right to continue to press, as are the other Indigenous leaders in this space.
Now, part of the settlement is also called...
All right. Interesting tone from the federal government on that, and if they actually do proceed with that, that's a good step, because I did know about the $23 billion, but this is the first I had ever heard of the additional $20 billion to actually reform the system, that there's actually money behind it. So that makes me very, very happy, and hopefully it will be spent well. I don't have any doubt on the good faith of Minister Haidu. She does come from a community background. I believe she used to work with women's shelters up in Thunder Bay, I believe, or North Bay. I mean, she comes from a, ask people let the people tell you what they need kind of a background. And so she's a good person for this. So I have no doubt on her good faith. Like I said, very exciting news, important news. And there's more that she had to say that I also found interesting in terms about lessons learned and other things, if you will, Mr. Grizzly. Unless you had something to comment about this bit.
No, I'm just gonna watch, listen, and learn.
Okay.
Context of a class
Whoops.
action, I think, is really important.
Well, you raise a human rights issue, and of course it was the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, the first federal body that said Canada needs to compensate First Nations children who were put into care. The government fought that order, eventually lost, obviously, as we are here today. But what lessons do you hope Ottawa will take from this case?
Well, I think that the number one lesson is, why is this number so big? The number is so big because the discrimination went on and on for years and decades, when there were advocates across the country calling for the government to stop discriminating against children and their families. So hopefully the lesson learned here is that when people are calling out with evidence and with reason and with common sense, asking for dignity and respect, that the government will listen and that we don't repeat this type of behavior again.
So that is what you hope comes out today. But of course, this has been ongoing for years. There have been discussions, negotiations behind closed doors. Do you think that that at this point there are people in the federal government that do know that lesson and are hoping to run with that lesson?
I think that's possible, but it doesn't really matter what people's intentions are inside the government. What we need to see is action. As you likely know, the human rights complaint remains ongoing. We don't yet have a long-term reform package to actually undo the discrimination and prevent it from recurring. So there's still a lot of work to do in the future. That shouldn't take away from today's big win for all of the victims in this case. This is monumental for them. I think it's a recognition of the harm that they've, but we have to keep moving forward, and we have to make sure that the discrimination ends.
Now, the settlement also calls on the Prime Minister to apologize on behalf of Canada for the underfunding, the subsequent impacts that the underfunding created. There seems to be a debate on whether or not that apology should proceed right now. What's your thought on it?
So from the Caring Society's perspective, I think the concern is that a public apology is not really the time now. The time now is not for a public apology. When someone apologizes, it's normally because they've done something that was wrong and they're not going to do it again. We're not at a place yet, Michael, where the discrimination against First Nations children and their family has come to an end. I don't think that that should take away, though, from the invitation for the Prime Minister to personally apologize to every single representative plaintiff in this action. I think those folks are likely entitled to his time and his attention. But to publicly apologize for the discrimination in this case is tricky to do right now when there are children today who are still experiencing that very same discrimination.
So $23 billion set aside for the compensation, an additional $20 billion earmarked to address ongoing issues within child family welfare services. What do you hope happens with that money? Where would you like this to go?
I think from the Caring Society's perspective, that money has to be directed at evidence-informed solutions to the continued overrepresentation of First Nations children in the child welfare system, as well as ensuring that children under Jordan's principle receive the services, products, and supports that they deserve, that they're entitled to, and that they need. And we know that those problems are not yet fixed, and they can't just be fixed with money. The government has to make a real commitment to restructuring the child welfare services program, as well as ensuring that Jordan's principle as a legal principle is implemented in a way that respects the rights of children. So money is important, but actually the structure is very important. And that's really where the parties have to continue their ongoing discussions and their ongoing work.
Sarah Clark, always appreciate the time and the insight. Thank you for tonight.
Thanks, Michael.
For the people listening at home, because I didn't properly introduce the clip, that was Sarah Clark, the lawyer for First Nations Child and Family Caring Society. They were a co-complainant in the case, because the way I presented it, it was like it was Minister Haidu intervening a second time and adding more, which was not the case. But yeah, these are the right words. And
Indeed.
there's and I wanted to include that clip the whole content was good, but specifically about the apology right? Because we've talked on this show often about like when an apology is sincere, what constitutes a good apology, when,
Mhm.
and it's like the money is there to reform the system. There have been some reforms that are made. There was a bill passed. There are 10 agreements, right, with agencies. So work as, but it's like the water thing. It's it's not finished, right? So the public apology maybe can wait until um, I can understand the I'll believe it when it lasts
Right. Well,
before you say you're sorry. But on the other hand, I like that distinction of making personal apologies. Nothing stops the prime minister from having a meeting one on one, saying, you know what, like this, yeah, you know, we're sorry and we really mean this apology. And the public one will come when we've shown we're sorry,
mhm. Well,
right?
the settlement is there, so let's see the money. To steal a phrase from a late '90s Tom Cruise film, show me the money. Until the money starts rolling in, it's just platitudes, right?
And until the money keeps rolling in, no matter who the government is,
Yes. Yes.
right?
That's important.
Because in my ear, right now, I hear that voice that you do so well on the very day that thankfully former Prime Minister Voldemort was allegedly giving an apology for residential
Allegedly.
schools. And PP, right before the apology, made sure he went to CFRA
Mhm.
and complained about Indigenous work ethic and was wondering why we weren't getting value for money for legal tort settlements,
What a shit game.
which this is
Yes.
$23 billion, the largest one in Canadian history. And I am just waiting for someone to ask him what value for money he expects for that $23 billion.
I'm not going to go off on an angry ranting tangent this morning. I've chosen not to, but I really have that in me to do it today. But I'm not going to. I've chosen not to. I'm in a very happy, good place this morning, so I'm not going to let the little cockwomble shit gibbon skin tag mess up my morning or my day. But let's face it, you know damn well he's going to pull a stunt like that.
At some
Where's our
point,
value for money? Excuse me. It's a legal settlement. There's no. It's not. There's no ROI on this.
Mhm.
None.
Exactly. Now it's 20. The ROI is learning not to do the effing crap again.
There you go.
Right?
Did you learn
So-
from your mistakes?
Yes, I did. Trust me, I did. I will not do it again. Trust me, there will be no other reason for henceforth on this file for us to pay another $23 billion. I promise I have learned.
Well,
That's the ROI.
let's ask the question. The important question. Have you learned from your mistakes? No? Okay. Well, then here's what we're going to do. We're going to sue you into absolute oblivion. Because that's the only thing these Reform Party people understand is money.
Follow the lead.
Every single time, just take them to court and sue them into oblivion. Take all of their money.
Don't get mad. Get everything.
Take all of it. Take every last penny. Because they will not stop lying, spreading mis and disinformation, and absolute bovine scatology. They will not stop doing that until you take all their money. They need to be punished for their lies. And washing their mouth out with soap ain't going to do it.
And that's why I keep on wanting the NDP to make the case that they don't deserve to even be the opposition, because maybe if they spent 2 or 3 terms in 3rd place or lower, where the NDP usually is, maybe they would frickin' smarten up.
Hmm. Well, I don't know if you noticed on some of the shorts I posted yesterday. Like I put them all together and then I post them a group of 5 at a time, and then I schedule when they get released. And the ones where Skippy's speaking, they get the most interaction, but they also get the most comments of, here's our next prime minister. Can't wait. And I'm like, Trudeau has to go. Well, okay, make sure you vote in the next election. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. There's our next prime minister. Okay, if he lasts for the next 2 years, when the next federal election in October of 2025, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Like, it's 2 years away, man. He won't be around. He won't be around. I'm telling you, he'll be gone.
I hope so. I hope so. It
We'll
was,
do our best to make sure by spreading the information of his misinformation.
yeah, absolutely. But it was, all these threads at some point are going to have to intersect, right? I mean, you have the Doug Ford stuff going on one end, and you have all the crap that Andrew Scheer did, because don't let those dimples fool you, people.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was rejected by the entire country. And unlike Aaron, and unlike what was her name? Enemy Paul, and unlike that, he didn't go away. He's still there.
Yeah.
That is odd. That is odd. At some point, all of these things are going to have to intersect, and it just seems that the guy that nobody's talking about yet, and I know this sounds like conspiracy theory-ish when we're talking about it in the way that we are, but I mean, it's just so wild. But this Mike Roman guy, it's like everything that's falling apart in the United States right now for Trump and friends, right? There are 19 people in Georgia who were indicted. And everybody said, she's not going to go, you go into court with 19. You'll never be able to make that case. And it's like, don't worry, I'm not going to court with 19. By the time we get to court, there won't be 19. So we had the bail bondman, Scott Hall flip.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chesebro and Sidney Powell tried to sever their trials and get an early trial so they can get out first. And then both of them pleaded guilty before the trial started. And then yesterday, Jenna Ellis flipped.
Oh, yeah. And she flipped.
Oh, and boy, did she flip. She really flipped. And not only did she flip, but she's thrown Rudy Giuliani completely under the bus. And while she was there, while she was doing that, she actually confessed to other crimes. So all those things that we're guilty of doing in Georgia, like we kind of done that in Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania too. So I'm guessing that there will be state trials in those 3 states there. And they're all getting probation. But, well, there's the federal trial with Jack Smith, and now all of a sudden, he's made it very streamlined, but there's such thing as superseding indictments. And all these people that he may be the subject of superseding indictments in his case, who are coming in with probation from Georgia, but who have pled guilty to all the same things they're going to probably be charged with federally. Well, he doesn't have to give them anything because, he has their previous guilty plea.
Mm.
So that's probably where the sentences are going to happen, because right now it's just probation, maybe some community services, a service, a fine, a letter of apology, and you have to testify. But he's being handed all these people who've flipped and have given guilty pleas. He's just being handed them.
Have you seen, I mentioned this in the, here's the photo of Trump while Michael Cohen was testifying against him.
Yes, not happy. Yes, that's in another civil case. But one of the indictees in that bigger case is that Mike Ronan guy. who did some really big work on Andrew Scheer's failed campaign, who was Harper's number 2 at the IDU. And, there were sort of convoy type protest things in the Netherlands and in France and a couple of other countries. And, gee, I wonder if it's possible if he might have been coordinating all of those somehow.
Mm.
When Dave Wallace and friends say that Doug and PP are FUCKED, all the people, the Trump people flipping.
hmm
Yeah,
It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
Dean had a good little clip, I think, yesterday morning about it. I wish I had it with me, and I don't think we have time for both of them for the next thing I wanted to show. But maybe maybe in the Easter egg if I can find it. But the way that he laid it out, it was sort of like I heard it, and it was like click, 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 click.
hmm Everything
It's
connects.
and when I said the common thread is this Mike Roman guy.
Oh yeah, and he's about to roll. He's about to roll. Let's see what happens.
Grab your popcorn.
Did you see this from Donald Trump's Truth Social? I'll have you read this in your Donald Trump voice, sir, because you do it so well.
Michael Cohen was a complete and total disaster in the Biden-inspired trial today. Lie after lie and getting caught each time. My great assets are worth more than is on my financial statements, and it's not even close. The rigged trial doesn't even give me the right to a jury, but the people are watching and they're seeing what is going on here. A miscarriage of justice. The statute being used for this case gives me no rights and has never been used for this before, but the facts are all on my side. Witch hunt.
So more garbage from Trump, but I like how he ends that, witch hunt, which would indicate that he is a witch. So if he's a witch, that would make him trans because witches are female and warlocks are male.
Because every
So
time
Trump is trans.
it's like I know we have people who identify as witches in the with the
Yes.
show, so I'm always hesitant to make the joke. But it's like every time he says witch hunt, it's like I
Mhm.
just keep on thinking of Baby Jane. But you are a witch, Blanche. You are.
Well, and let's take the context of it, right? He's going back to the Salem witch trials is what he's talking about.
Yes, throw him in the
It's a
water, see if he
universal term
floats.
now. Oh, it's a universal term now. When did that change? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know it's no longer gendered.
No, it's no longer gendered.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, so see, TIL
I
today. I learned.
learned that in a play, actually.
Oh, really?
A few years ago, there was a play done called Coven, and they were looking for somebody to play the head witch,
Mhm.
and they didn't find someone. And then my friend called me and said, "Well, it's like I need someone who can move and do things with their body and stuff like this. And I know you have a dance background. Could you do it?" And the name of the witch I think was Rhiannon Elda, and it's sort of like,
Mm.
really? And it says, yeah. And it's like witches are gender neutral anyway. It doesn't matter. So it's like, okay. I guess the costume was amazing. By the way,
See, I didn't know this. So sorry if I offended anybody. You
yeah,
know, I wouldn't
I
do
had
that
forgotten
intentionally.
too. It wasn't until Saucy mentioned it. It's like, yeah, that's true, right? Because I played one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn, I was really going for I was trying to hit him hard with that one
Oh.
too. You know.
almost.
Mm,
Okay. There's
I failed.
one thing
I
here.
feel shame.
We're gonna put the cone of shame on you, right?
No. I'm talking about the scene from
Up, isn't it?
no, sir. The scene from Slapshot. The very beginning.
Oh,
By
okay,
hooking
yes.
is law, cross-checking is law, and you go to a box for 2 minutes and you think about it, and you feel shame, then they set you free. If you're a man of a certain age, you know that movie. If you're a Canadian male of a certain age, you know that movie.
Yes. And I was thinking of Up. I do not like the cone of shame.
Yes, I get it. And it's not where I was going.
All right. Do we have the next clip?
We have the next clip. Just a
Kid who says
second
my
here.
wood shoot has spandex tights.
Hang on a second. I'm just trying to find it. My computer's bored, so bear with me. Bear
Okay,
with
no
me.
worries, no worries.
I do have it. Yes, I have it. No, I have it. I have it right here. Just a second. I will just do that, and whenever you're ready, let me know. I'll show the clip. It's 37 seconds.
Yeah, this is from Jaro Geisbrecht again. We often take his clips, so thank you, Jaro. Let's play it, Mr. Grizzly.
Blair said earlier today that Hamas must be eliminated and cannot be trusted to abide by any ceasefire. Do you agree with him?
Hamas is recognized as a terrorist organization. They've committed unspeakable atrocities. Our priority throughout this needs to be the continued protection of innocent civilians, the liberation of the hostages. That's why we're engaged closely with our allies on trying to build humanitarian corridors, get aid in, get civilians and foreign nationals out of Gaza. I think there's a lot of conversations going on now about the need for humanitarian pauses, and I think that's something that Canada could
That's something Canada what?
La
That's something
priorité
Canada what?
Canada supports.
Blair said earlier today that Hamas
All
must
right.
be eliminated.
Keywords: humanitarian pauses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody's been calling to ask for a ceasefire. There were 23, I believe, MPs from the Liberal caucus who had written an open letter. And some person, I can't remember which pundit it is, but made the point of pointing out that the difference between those 23 MPs and Sarah Jama is that 23 MPs across party lines, respectful open letter, stating their case, making a request, as opposed to going your own way. A lot of people didn't like the response, by the way, from the Ontario NDP, and I heard reports that there was some vandalism at the office of Merritt Stiles in retaliation, which is not cool. But remember when I said a couple of days ago when I was talking about the realpolitik of the situation, and I was saying that people that don't have access can't have influence? The Prime Minister said, we have to have a ceasefire so that we can let humanitarian aid in, maybe to have some extra time to negotiate the hostages and get foreign nationals out. Israel would have sent them pounding sand. And we know that this is the case because just yesterday at the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres basically made a statement, and it wasn't how can I say? See, I try to keep on saying that it wasn't particularly tough on them, but I mean, if you're coming from the perspective of, again, we've just had another pogrom, and Hamas is a group that's already said that we should not have the right to exist and is pledged to exterminate us. How reasonable do you want us to be? But people are still asking them to be reasonable, right?
Yeah.
To still be humane. So he goes, the Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that there has been clear violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. And during his address, he said, but affecting civilians can never mean using them as human shields. And he said, protecting civilians does not mean ordering more than 1 million people to evacuate to the source where there is no shelter, no food, no water, no medicine, and no fuel, and then continue to bomb that source itself. Israeli officials responded immediately to his remarks. And this was the UN ambassador, Gilad Erdan. This will be the darkest hour of United Nations under you, Mr. Secretary, and demanded his resignation. And demanded his resignation because Antonio Guterres said, it is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation, but the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, and those opposing attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And then Israel's ambassador to the UN said that Israel won't be issuing a visa to the head of the UN's humanitarian affairs, Martin Griffiths. And the ambassador has also said that it's time to teach the United Nations a lesson.
Wow.
So, yes, and when we add that to talk of human animals and can we get our foreign nationals out of Gaza, their lives are secondary at best.
Very much so.
That type of talk. There's a reason the world is worried. There is an attitude that seems to be, listen, we are going to do what it is that we are going to do, and we are going to do it in the way that we are going to do it, and we are going to put an end to this once and for all. And whatever we do not question us, do not oppose us, and do not criticize us, because we will teach you a lesson too.
Yeah.
On the other hand, again, you're saying, but these people have pledged to exterminate us. So what do you want us to do? How many
It's complicated, complex.
you want us to leave for that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, if somebody wants to annihilate you, I mean, isn't the only real option, really? If it's going to be you or me, then it's going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, if I was in a debate, I would be able to debate either side with equal passion and find great arguments. That's why this problem is totally intractable.
It's beyond comprehension for me.
Like this.
I just...
And then we get the fact that, well, Bibi is not necessarily the world's most trustworthy man. And a lot of this is, I mean, even though his, people in his country are upset with him for the failure. I mean, he's over. Once the internal processes start overlooking this, he's going to be gone, and he won't be able to revive his career one more time. But the whole start of this, the whole alliance with these groups within Israel who were really hell-bent with the far right groups after having like 5 or 6 elections before, all came because, like Donald Trump, he was running to keep his ass out of jail.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
He shouldn't even be there.
No, he shouldn't. And
he shouldn't even be playing a role in this. He should be in jail or in court. So when these are the cards on the table, who do you trust? Whose word do you take? Right? I mean, and in here, you got the conservative government, again, trying to paint the government as being anti-Semitic. Again, you had Melissa Landsman rise in the House and again, trade on her faith. And it's just asking a question to the leader of the NDP in the House of Commons, which you can't do. So actually breaking parliamentary decorum, actually Greg Fergus Speaker of the House had to get up and say, unless somebody from the government wants to answer that question, we'll move on. Because the questions are asked of the government, not of other parties.
Right.
And in that question period system, also, Pierre Poliver was sort of saying, oh, well, gee, the rise of the PQ in Quebec. Well, gee, when we were in place, we had things were so good with Quebec that we stamped down separatism like this, and now it's rising again thanks to 8 years of Justin Trudeau. And it's like, and you had the leader of the Bloc Québécois stand up and says, "Well, I'm really happy to know that separatism's on the rise again thanks to the good word of the leader of the opposition."
Thank you for pointing something out to me that we were not aware of. Appreciate that.
I could just see like Prime Minister going, "Oh yeah, go." It's like if the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois want to fight each other in Quebec, the Prime Minister, I'm sure, is very happy to just let it happen and not interrupt. um, you know, by saying the words humanitarian pause, it puts another frame on it that allows Israel to consider it, because Israel does have to take into consideration what loss of support it would have from the international community if all those foreign nationals didn't make it out of Gaza. And Hamas is being pretty smart by releasing those 2 Israeli ladies the other day. Right? They mentioned how, when they were the getting to there was rough. They were beaten and they were mistreated a bit, but once they got there, that they were kind and treated them well, and it seems that they had prepared because they had shampoo and feminine hygiene products.
Yeah.
For this, well, they separated them from their husbands, so they were let free. But the lady that was released mentioned all that. They said no, they were good to us, and they kept our minds busy by talking us about a variety of things. And so they let 2 Americans go on one day, they let 2 Israelis go on another day. And they're treating them well while they're there, even though they would like to annihilate the state. I mean, there's some really interesting PR going on there.
Multiple levels of complexity too, when you think about it.
Like this,
but
which
the
makes
PR is something else.
It makes it harder for Israel to say we're going in with the full ground war. Oh, but listen, they're releasing some hostages. Yeah, but they're only releasing foreign nationals. Oh, well, they released a couple of Israelis. Oh, look, they're not treating them badly while they're there, so we have some time. There's a lot of strategy going on there. But for all the claims from the Conservatives that the Prime Minister was so slow and, with the hospital thing. Well, at first, the news was that the hospital was hit. Now it seems that it really wasn't that much. There's more space around it. We took a couple of extra days. You know who else took a couple of extra days? France, the UK. Turns out we were the 3rd country to say, yes, we've done our own investigation. And considering that, again, the context is that the last time that there was something in that region, we had the United States telling us that there were weapons of mass destruction, and, well, there weren't. And that Joe Biden is going around and telling people don't make the same mistakes we made. Yeah, you know what? Taking 3 extra days and maybe doing our own independent analysis was probably not a dumb idea.
You think? Isn't that what we did with George Bush and the Iraq invasion?
Yep.
Jean Chrétien said, no, we're not going in, because he looked at it and said, we don't have enough evidence to prove any of this. So.
Yeah, but now that the whole world knows it, it's like, yeah, we're just going to take your word for it, United States again. No.
As an independent nation, sober second thought is a good idea.
Yeah, like this. But apparently this was anti-Semitism.
Because we took the time to analyze the data.
And because we denounced the attack, because we called it an attack, well, gee, why would Palestinians attack themselves? But Palestinians are not Hamas, Palestinians are not Hezbollah, and Palestinians are not Islamic Jihad. So if they are the ones that are launching the rockets, it's not Palestinians attacking themselves, isn't it? It's terrorist groups using Palestinians as human shields in order to create. So that whole logic didn't work. But they were saying, because we labeled it an attack, we must have assumed, we must be suggesting or inferring that Israel attacked the hospital, because why would Palestinians attack their own hospital? It's not the Palestinians who are holding the rockets. It's Hamas. The rockets are powered by fuel. They're fuel-powered rockets. And if there was fuel, the Palestinians would probably be using it to bake bread, not shoot a rocket.
Well, yeah.
So the conservatives were in such a rush to blame the liberals. The liberals were saying an attack on a hospital is against international law. It's terrible. Because you called it an attack, you must be saying that the Israelis hit that hospital. Because why would Palestinians? And that's what they ran with. That's what it was all based on.
Well, it's not black and white to begin with, and they totally leave out nuance. And
They took a neutral statement and read into it, you must mean Israel because you used the word attack.
No.
I do not know what is the deal with our conservatives, but they really, 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 really seem to want Arab Canadians and Jewish Canadians to fight.
Well, didn't those Canadians come here to get away from all of that?
Yeah,
so-
but they seem to really want them to fight because they really want to make a group of Canadians believe that the current government of Canada is anti-Semitic.
It's not the case.
Come on, man.
Didn't the
You are
current
playing
government
with
of Canada come
stuff.
out to support Israel right away, saying they have the right to defend themselves? Like,
You are playing with stuff that can go boom.
Mhm. And what
Okay,
Melissa
Mr. Grizzly.
Landsman fails to realize is that the party that she is a member of, which is beyond me because she's not an idiot.
No.
She's not a stupid woman.
No.
But the party that
She's-
she is a member of will toss her under the bus at the very first opportunity because, quite frankly, she's gay and Jewish. Those are two things that fly in the face of the Christian right-wing evangelical reform party that is currently in official opposition.
Yeah.
Because they're not conservatives.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
She doesn't seem to understand. She'll be thrown. Like, either she doesn't understand or she knows full well and will get a nice payoff. Or I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
Or maybe she's so blind with and drunk with power, she fails to realize that she will be the first one to get tossed. I don't know.
I don't know. It's, yeah, I know. It's,
What was the line from the Tragically Hip? Even babies raised by wolves know exactly when they've been used.
right? I mean, it's just, geez, show yourself some self-respect, man. Love yourself. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right. Kids, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love listening to you. And Mr. Grizzly, I have to say that I got a bit of interesting news. It seems that a whole lot more kids are listening to us than we even believed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have interest from an advertiser, and I went to get some numbers, and we were very happy that our downloads were hitting like 2,000, close to 3,000 in a month.
It's been
seems
3,000 lately.
yeah. So we've got about 9,000 downloads for the last 3 months, which the people at the network tell us is very, very, very good. But in terms of video impressions through Twitter and Twitch and all of that together, the audience is over 130,000.
What? I had no
In a
idea.
month.
Wow.
Over
I
a
had
month.
no idea. Wow.
Now it could be like same people watching every show for 25, but over 100. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. So
Neither
we're-
did
we're
I.
okay. Okay. Bring on those advertisers.
So everyone, hello.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming out. We really do appreciate you.
I had no idea so many of you. Hi. Wow. Thank you.
That's great news. Wow. That's great news.
Yeah. Because so like, share, subscribe. Our pod page sponsored by the Ray Girl,
Thank you.
podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver. Yes. Lowercase letters with hyphen between each one of those words. Our YouTube page, Like Elaine says, make sure to smash all those buttons, like, share, subscribe. Go there. And of course, our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And that's where you can make a donation to our chip jar, our tip jar. If you'd like to encourage us to keep going. Thank you so very much for that. Because democracy is something that you do, please write your MPs, your MLAs. It's working. It's working.
Yes.
Because if you write, it's working. You can see things. You can see things shift. You can see governments take different positions. You can see adjustments made along the way. If you let it be known like this, it happens. You can see it happen. So please do. It's really worth your time. It's a good effort. Of course, donate to the Red Cross. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind and gentle with yourselves. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
I do, and they're delivered by, well, just have a look at this 10-second clip.
Bad. You do that, you go to the box, just by yourself, and you feel shame,
I've been a very bad boy.
That was.
I know the feeling
feel
of feeling shame. The one
and
penalty
then
I
you
got,
get
I
free.
cried.
Well,
Yep.
I was a goalie, so I
The
we
one
had a
penalty I
lot of
got, I
penalties.
cried. I didn't mean it, I just didn't know how to stop. I think they might put that on my tombstone. I didn't mean to hit him. I just didn't know how to stop yet.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Grizzly, roll them credits, please. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. All right, kids, and just some good news from our Canadian athletes to send you on your way. 50 medals now for Team Canada at the Pan American Games. Catherine Sebov won the Saguenay tennis tournament in the Saguenay region, and she's now at a career high ranking. And Mike Weir finished fourth at a pretty important golf tournament on the seniors tour, and Stephen Ames finished 20th. So 2 top 20 performances for our golfers. Lots to be proud of. Oh, and by the way, the NHL reversed itself on the tape.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
think
now
so.
they are allowing the rainbow tape or any other tape, camouflage tape or whatnot, for whatever causes. Nothing about jerseys yet. But okay, NHL, you made the right decision. And same thing. We had that thing with Major League Baseball at one point. They invited a gay group and then removed it and then invited them again. Allyship costs, right? So when you say you're going to be an ally, when you get the blowback in the first times, that's not the time to cower. You stay.
Yeah, deal with it.
All right? Lesson
Be
learned.
a man. Do the right thing.
Yes. We'll forgive you this time, but next time, don't abandon us, or else, we're going to think you're not really serious about this.
Mhm.
All right. Have a nice day.
See ya.